But realistically, the 8 reasons that I spoke about today are reason enough to have a mentor, regardless of whether it's me or someone else. Today, what I wanted to talk to you about are the 8 reasons why I still personally invest in mentors, even though I absolutely do not have to. But having someone in your corner is so, so powerful. And I want to talk to you about the specifics and give you some stories on actual examples of how this has happened for me. So the first reason why I still invest in mentors is that.
Welcome to Swift Coaches Academy, a podcast dedicated to bringing health and wellness professionals the uncensored truth behind what it really takes to succeed in the health industry with me, your host, Xenia Wood. As an accredited exercise physiologist and business owner for almost a decade, I'm on a mission to transform the lives of ambitious health professionals like you who want more and are ready to take action to create incredible impact in your careers and unlock financial freedom in your business. So join me as I speak candidly with industry leaders about the struggles and successes from within the trenches through thought-provoking conversations.
Alrighty, little life update to start today's episode. I thought I would start with a little bit of a story because I had my little sister who's 14 come over and spend the day with me yesterday. And she was telling me that she doesn't eat breakfast because she doesn't have time in the mornings before school. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, do you think there are other kids at your school who also have to get ready for school and, create time to have breakfast? She's like, yeah, well, I just don't have time. And I was like, oh, okay. And I find that these little seeded ideas start really early when we start to say things like, I don't have time, and we start to blame and project onto external influences the reason why we are not doing something. And I felt like in that moment, it was an opportunity for me to help shift the responsibility and accountability to put it back on my little sister to say, hey, it is your responsibility to choose these things. And if you're choosing to not eat breakfast, then, that's another conversation. But if you're saying that it's time's fault that you haven't had breakfast before you go to school, or insert anything in your life that you're blaming time, you're blaming I'm too busy, or, whatever it is in your life, I think it's a really powerful tool. And when I said this to my little sister, I said, oh, is it time's fault that you haven't had breakfast? She kind of smirked at me and was a little bit sultry about it. But I think it's important to, be playful with it, but also help people understand. And I do this in my mentorship programs as well, help them understand that it is our responsibility and we get to take accountability. And when we don't deflect it onto someone else and we say, oh, I didn't have enough time, and instead say I didn't prioritize, or I didn't get up early enough, or I don't see breakfast as an important thing for me, then we get to reshape the story, and therefore we can change the outcome. So that's a cool little story that I wanted to start with today in terms of how perhaps, these things seed really early in us and we get to change them. But today, what I wanted to talk to you about are the 8 reasons why I still personally invest in mentors, even though I absolutely do not have to. And that is not me saying I'm better than them or superior, or the reason I don't have to invest in mentors because I know everything. Absolutely not. But I do absolutely have the tools and skills to continue to grow a profitable and successful business, or businesses, now that I have 2. And so I wanted to talk to you about those reasons. So I've got some notes here. The first one is, actually, before we go into that, I'm just going to talk to how we may understand this as coaches, right? Because I absolutely, like I said, don't need to have mentors or coaches and things like that, just like a client, absolutely, or a person doesn't need to hire a personal trainer to lose weight, right? Will it be faster, more effective, easier, and with less hiccups, with more accountability, and probably a little bit more fun to have a coach and have someone support you to do that? Absolutely, right? And so that is why I hire mentors. I hire them because they are going to provide things for me that are going to make this quicker, faster, funner, easier. I want to talk to you about the specifics and give you some stories on actual examples of how this has happened for me. So the first reason why I still invest in mentors is that there is so much power in proximity. This just gets continually reinforced in the circles that I'm in, and I'm absolutely paying to play in some of these circles, right? These are not just people that I've met and, I've actually been like, cool, I want to be around that person more. And if there's an opportunity to work with them and I have to pay for that, then I will absolutely take that, right? Depending on where you are in your journey and what you have available in terms of resources, you might have time instead of money, or you might go, I can create the money in other areas. But the reason why there's so much power in proximity, to get into the brains and rooms of people you otherwise may not have access to, is huge. There are people playing, we talked about in last week's episode, money games, and there are people playing business games on just like a whole nother level to what I am and what you are. And to be able to like sort of peek behind the curtain and see those new levels and be like, I can do that and be more strategic, make more money with less effort if I just shift this. And if I figure out that, and I think that is like, it helps to unlock things that we don't realize are possible. Particularly like I'm come from a like low to mid socioeconomic background, like parents didn't have any real financial literacy outside of schooling and no business knowledge. So it's really helpful for me to get into rooms where there's power in proximity. The other thing that happened recently for me when I joined a networking group was that as part of this process, they basically craft how you create relationships and how you get referrals and networks. And it's not B2C. So I'm not asking for, let's say, like clients who are in, or people who are in pain to come in for rehab. What I'm saying is, who works with those people? And so as a result of one of this, I asked for gym owners and looking to basically connect with the PTs inside the gyms to help support them in business, right? And as a result of not only asking for this, but the power of proximity, I got networked with the CEO of a global gym brand, the Australian CEO, and have had it was like 21-minute conversation with him, and I'm looking to go to his headquarters and map out a full strategy for the entire Australian structure for these PTs, which is pretty cool. Can't disclose yet which gym it is, but it's on the cards and currently working on that, which is an awesome opportunity. Had I not gotten into the rooms of these powerful people and created proximity with them, I would never have had this opportunity. Okay. The second reason why I still invest in mentors, even though I don't need to, is that they save so much wasted time, energy, and money for me every single month. They are the eyes that can sort of zoom out. I'm really in the thick of my business, just as you are as well. And so to have someone to be able to see like a bit of a bird's eye view, or be able to see what's behind you and then reflect that back to you and say, have you thought of this or that or whatever it is really, really powerful. Because how many times do we focus on this problem that we think is so important and so, consumes all of our energy. And then we go, why did I focus on that? Like that wasn't an effective strategy for me, or, that didn't need as much effort, or that could have been solved in a much easier way. And you look back later and you go, oh, I was such an idiot. Or you realize that, there was just a smarter way to do that. Or perhaps that didn't even really need much focus and attention at all, but we invested so much energy into that. And so not only are we wasting time and money, but just our like emotional investment and our energy into things that are maybe not as big of a problem as we realize, or our focus should be in somewhere else. So for me, the story behind this one is that I remember that I was so deep in focusing on fixing something in one of my businesses and growing that. But then my mentor was like, Zania, that's not even giving you much of an ROI. Like this other business is far more profitable for you. And if you just make this tweak in that business, then it's not going to matter what's happening in the other one, because to be able to get more profit, more cash flow, and to be able to solve the problem that you're looking to solve, there's a much simpler solution. And had I not had that mentor say that to me, then I probably would have still been focusing on the business and solving the problem there that wasn't actually getting me to the outcome that I really wanted or needed at that time. The third reason why I still invest in mentors is that they get to fast track my success. Obviously, I put in the work with that, but they know what does and doesn't work. They've been where we are, and you're effectively paying to avoid the mistakes that they've made, which is so, so valuable, right? Because there are so many mistakes that I've made. And it's not saying that you're not going to make mistakes, even if you hire a mentor, but like there are going to be certain mistakes, and generally probably like bigger ones or ones that are in your future that you haven't yet crossed. You can sort of ask in advance and be like, hey, this is happening for me. And they'll be like, oh my God, do not do that, right? This is what happened to me. And you can learn through their lessons as opposed to you having to go through the hard work, which could mean loss of sleep or income or whatever that is, right? So the story for me with this is that I was doing session by session model for years. And I was like, this is the way it's done in health, like we pay session by session, you pay after the fact, and this is how it works and whatever else. And then a mentor said to me like, well, what if you didn't do that? What if you could get them to commit to programs, or you could get them to pay upfront or in advance or before the session, or you didn't have to worry about, taking payment on the spot or bothering with their high caps, and like, what could you do then? And how could you potentially create a better service for them? And I was like, oh, like, what do you mean you can't do that? And I literally just didn't know. And it feels almost silly now to reflect back and be like, what do you mean? Like, how did I not know? But because I was surrounded by everyone else who's doing session by session, and that was the way it's done. And I think that's a very harmful sentence. That's just the way we do it, because it doesn't allow for creativity to think, well, what if it could be done another way? How would that look? And how could we get better results potentially if we change this? Not saying that always that will be the case, but just opening the eyes to innovation and new ideas that could result in a better outcome, I think is really, really powerful. So I was doing session by session for years, and then I switched and I slowly transitioned to a different model and a different framework. And in the next 18 months, I had a 600% increase in my business, which is wild. And like just the curvature of that. And that was from hiring my first mentor outside of, mentors that I had through my subcontracting job when I first started. And so it was just the shift of like being around a different mentor and different people and different mindsets. And I was able to implement that strategy through the systems and frameworks that they literally gave to me. And 600% in 18 months is crazy, right? That's like unheard of. And I literally look back at that and I'm like, wow, that's insane. And so now I have looked at that and gone, you know what, like I want to do that with my students too in our business academy, in terms of I hand them the templates, the frameworks, the system, anything in my business that I've created, whether it's a job description or a template for a waiver or an assessment form or how to track your finances, everything that I have, I just literally hand over to the other business owners, because I think that's where we get to create incredible impact, right? Like, why would I withhold any of that if I have the answers available, and my role as a mentor is to help support and guide and make that journey faster, quicker, easier, and funner for the people who, have me as their mentor. So definitely fast tracks my success hiring and having mentors still to this day. The next next reason why I still hire mentors is because they push you to achieve more and get results faster. So the story behind this is that I've been running online courses for the last 5 years, and I was like, you know what? I kind of winged it the whole time and tried to figure everything out on my own. And I went, you know what, like if I'm going to take this seriously, like let's hire some help and get a mentor and get support with this. And I literally purchased the course and I was sitting on it for like 2 weeks. And that's like a really long time for me, because I believe that action takers and money makers and making fast decisions, either yes or no, is powerful, because we're not waiting in limbo for so long. So making fast decisions has been one of my superpowers and something that I coach my students to do as well. But basically, after this 2-week period of me umming and ahhing and going, you know what, fuck it. Like it's $5,000. You can make that back. Like just fucking back yourself. And part of it, I think, is literally just making that financial commitment. And I actually love when it feels uncomfortable to invest in something, because it means that you're going to show up and pay attention. Like if you're investing in a house, you shouldn't be like, oh yeah, have my, $1 million for the next 30 years that I'm going to give you on this, mortgage or whatever. Like that should be something that you're like, okay, I'm going to invest. I'm going to, you're going to do your research and you're going to fucking like make sure that you're doing it right. Right? So when you're investing in mentoring and you're investing in programs or courses or whatever, it's like if it feels a little uncomfortable, I love that, because what that gets to mean is that I'm really going to show up, because I don't want that $5,000 to go to waste. I don't want to just throw that money in the toilet. I want to make sure that that makes a positive ROI for me. These are things that I believe we should be thinking about as business owners. So I invested in this course. And then I was like, shit, like going through the modules, I was like, holy shit, like there's so much more to course creation that I didn't realize. And some things were reinforced, and some things I was like, you know what? I could make another course like right now and like make this money back. And so in the first 2 weeks after purchasing the course, which was $5,000, I made almost $20,000, like 19,762 or something like that. And I made that back within 2 weeks of this course, because I showed up, I took action, I implemented, and I iterated. And so that was a serious moment for me to be like, hiring help, getting support is going to make this happen faster for me. And not everyone wants their business to grow faster and accelerate their growth. And that's totally okay. But if you do, then hiring someone to have your back and to show you the ropes is the fastest way to do it, bar none. Okay. The fifth reason why I still invest in mentors is that they are accountability on crack, right? So I know so many people who are like, oh, like I just need more accountability. I just need to back myself more. I just need to stop procrastinating. But when you pay to play, you show up for yourself, but you're not just showing up for yourself, you show up for your mentor. And I think this is so different to showing up for like your partner or your mom or a friend or someone who's like, oh, like it'll be okay if you don't achieve it. Like mentors should also drive a line and be like, yo, this is not okay. You said you wanted to achieve this, and these are the things that we're going to do to get there. And they're supportive as well when you find the right people, but they're also going to make sure that you actually get a result, because first and foremost, they're not your friend. They're there to get you a result. If they become your friend, or if you're friendly with them as well, that's like, I love that. I'm friends with all of my students, right? But our relationship is also a financial one where they've invested in me. So I absolutely, it's my duty of care to make sure that they get an ROI on that and they feel good about that investing in me for that. I've noticed for myself with accountability, I have had small gaps between having mentors, and I've noticed my own accountability slip or my clarity on things because I didn't have someone to just tap on the shoulder and say, hey, like I'm just struggling with this, or I need help, or I'm just not sure which way to go. And honestly, I was talking to my partner about this a couple of months ago, maybe a bit more than that now, when I was between mentors. I felt like shit. I was like, why do I need to pay for a mentor? Why can't I just do it on my own? Like, this is silly. And then I realized that I've actually had a mentor the entire time I've been a coach, right? When I first started out, I chose a subcontracting role as opposed to an employee role and had a mentor from day one. And I'm not saying that, like you can't do it without a mentor, but what I've noticed is that having someone in my corner the whole time has been so crucial for me to get the results that I want, and to be able to have someone who can see what I'm doing, tweak and adjust, and just be in my corner. And so as a result of having accountability, it's also meant less headaches. It's also meant that I am, doing things quicker. It's also meant less second guessing, and I have that person to bounce ideas off, which is something that I have loved. And that's another huge reason why I still have mentors. The next one is they help you to think bigger and push the limits of what you believe is possible. So there are certain things that, like, when you hear them, you're like, holy shit, like, I didn't know that was achievable, right? And then when I speak to some of my mentors, like, things that I felt were unachievable, like, they've already done these things, right? And you're like, how the fuck did you make, like $250,000 in one day? Like, what do you mean? And just things that are like mind blowing. It's like, shouldn't that take you a year or, at least a couple of months or whatever it is? But when things get unlocked and you see them unlocked in your mentors, you're like, this could be possible for me too. And then when you have those doubts and second guessing, they're like, yo, like, these are the steps. This is how I did. Like, you can do it too. And I think that that is a really, really cool thing to see them grow while you're growing. And the story or the example of this for me is that I thought that you had to, if you're going to build a business, you had to work in it all the time. And, it took a long time before it was profitable. And, you have to start from the ground up and all these sorts of things. Then I joined a mastermind and they were like, hey, you can acquire businesses without actually putting cash into the deal. And it's still a win-win for them. And they will still get the money at the end because you take from the profits that the business is already making and you pay them back over a period of time. And there's so many other different strategies and ways to do that. But I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, yeah, like when, I don't know, let's say Google buys another company and they're like, oh, I'm going to buy Facebook, for example. Like, Google doesn't actually give Facebook whatever the headlines say is like the valuation of that company, right? Let's say it's $1 billion. Google doesn't hand $1 billion in cash over to Facebook. Generally, they swap in terms of like stocks or options or parts of equity, or there'll be other ways, or they'll pay them back over like 10-year period and things like that. And I just didn't know that because I'd never been in the conversations in the rooms of people who were doing these sorts of things. And this can still happen at like the micro business level, right? When you have something that's valuable and people are like, cool, like, I don't need all the cash for it right now. How can we make this work for both parties? So that is something that I was like, holy shit, like, I can do this. And the other example of helping me think bigger and pushing the limits on what I believe is possible is that, like I said, I thought that, you had to work in a business, you had to grow it, and it wouldn't be profitable for a while. And then after speaking to my mentor and being at some of these events with him and a whole bunch of our student cohort, I realized that I could create a business, not actually be involved in it, have someone else manage it, and still make profit. And when I unlocked that, like, this was Swift Assist. I don't know if you know of this business, but this is where we basically hire, upskill, and outsource virtual assistants in the health industry to other businesses. And we manage the relationship and we have all the templates and the systems and the structure, and we still support the business owners. So we do a lot more than most VA agencies where they just kind of like give you a VA and they're like, deal with them. But yeah, I was like, we can do all of this. And I literally don't have to even work in that business. Like, I hired a manager for that. In the first 12 months, we made 6 figures. Like, it was wild. And I'd never, ever done that before. And so just to be able to have someone help me think bigger and create something that I didn't even know was possible for me was huge, right? Number 7, as the 7th reason why I still invest in mentors, even though I probably don't need to anymore, is that they are the ones who, above everyone else in my life, are going to tell me the hard truths that others won't, because they actually get it. Like, they've been through the shit that you're going through, and they're different to like your family and friends who can be like, oh, that sucks, or that's awesome. But to actually be in the thick of business and to be ahead and to be like, hey, I remember what that feels like. I remember when I felt like that. And it's just such a powerful thing to have someone like that in your corner. And I also really love the fact that my mentors don't tell me the business is always going to be sunshine and rainbows. They don't tell me that I'm going to guarantee, 10K months in your first month. And they're going to set realistic expectations and also help me to reset some of my expectations. Like going, oh, I've posted on Instagram 3 times this week. Why don't I have any leads? And it's like, okay, well, but are you doing X, Y, Z and like all these other strategies? Or, how many conversations have you had? Or what offers do you have? Just showing me all these different things and being like, yo, 3 posts on Instagrams a week to try and get leads, not enough, right? And I was like, I thought 3 was good. So the story that I have here is not mine. I'm stealing this one from Alex Hormozi, but it stuck with me because he mentioned that he started doing flyer drops for his gyms back in the day. And he did 300 flyers in one day. And then he went to his mentor and he's like, oh, it didn't work, right? And his mentor was like, oh, how many flyers did you do? And he goes, 300 a day. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we do 5,000 a day. And that's our like test sample. And then Hormozi was like, oh. And so he was able to have his expectations reset on the actual work and effort required to achieve the result. And I think there's a lot of cases where business owners and business coaches, particularly online, are being like, you can get 10K months in 30 days, or like only working 10 hours a week or whatever. And I really love that the people that I choose to surround myself with are not just talking about BS and claiming all of these big, crazy claims and being like, you can work from anywhere and, it'll all be automated. I actually really love that they get to be real with me and be like, this is what it took for me to get from here to here. And if you want to do the same, probably going to be a pretty similar path, right? Because we can get kind of swept up in these like quick wins or all these incredible things that happen so quickly for like the one-off person. But we can choose to cross our fingers or like buy a lotto ticket and hope that we're the one who wins the $50 million, or we can just fucking do the work, right? And then guarantee the result as opposed to like just hope. And I think that's a huge thing that has sat with me, I should say, is that my mentors are the person who, bar none, will tell me the hard truths and tell me the real reality of the situation. And that for me is actually something that helps me understand and feel good about like, hey, I put in this effort, but it didn't work. It's like, okay, well, maybe you need to put in more, or maybe the effort that you're putting in isn't in the right direction. The final reason why I still invest in mentors is that the easiest way to change and grow is to change your environment. Now, I don't know if you've seen like the hierarchy of change. It's like a pyramid, but at the very bottom of the pyramid is your environment. So if you change your environment, then that is going to have a cascading effect on all the other changes. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Okay, let's say that you start hanging out with a bunch of friends and they go drinking most nights after work and on the weekends. You will probably go drinking more than you are right now, right? If they are doing more drinking than you are at the moment. Equally, if you start to hang out with a bunch of runners and you're not a runner, you might be like, I might think about taking up running, or you might do some running or whatever it is. But our environment is the biggest impact and factor on changing things. So if you are in currently an environment that is not conducive, or let's say you're the only business owner that you know, or you don't have anyone close in your circle, when shit gets hard, all the employee friends that you have around you are going to be like, yeah, I know. Told you, like, this is why it wasn't going to work. But if you hang out with a bunch of business owners who are doing really well, who are working together and who have been through things that you're going through, then the likelihood that you're going to continue to succeed and grow and try these things that the other business owners are trying is very, very high. So the bottom of this pyramid is your environment, and your environment is going to shape your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your actions. So picking the bottom of the pyramid is going to be the easiest way. So going to events where there are people who are acting like, being like, and are like people that you want to be, right? And this is where you get to not only have a look at what your current environments and are they conducive, but also what environments could be conducive or would be more conducive than the ones you're in now. So maybe you work at home 24/7, like I do most of the time, and you go, cool, I need to get out of that environment. I need to get around other people doing cool shit, doing more than me in business. And that can be really helpful. So the reason why our environment is so important is because we as humans are designed to be community oriented and fit in, right? Like if we didn't fit into our tribe back in the day, then we would be ostracized, and the likelihood that we would die because of lack of food or a wild animal would come and kill us or whatever was very high. So we are just wired to fit in. And so if you pick an environment that is going to change your behaviors and therefore your thoughts, beliefs, and actions, then that's going to be a huge, huge win for you if you're putting yourself in the environments of people who are doing better than you or who want to succeed. So my story with this is that I sat next to a woman once at a business event, and we had to write down how much we wanted to make in the next 12 months. And I remember that because then we shared with each other. So I remember she wrote down $70 million in the next 12 months. And I was like, holy shit. And then I was like, okay, I'm actually in the right room. And I think that the shift to be like, cool, like what is possible rather than like, oh, like, I don't belong, or that's really hard for me, or, maybe I don't, that can be something that some of us may feel. And if we can instead use that as fuel for the fire and go, how fucking cool that like there are other people who are still growing, still learning, still hiring mentors who want $70 million in their business in the next 12 months, then I can probably learn a fair bit from that person, right? And that's really stuck with me. So environment is something that I'm constantly really conscious of and going, cool, like I work from home 24/7 most of the time. I do go to the gym a little bit to help support my rehab business and the coaches there. But realistically, getting into new environments has just shifted my mood. It's shifted my ideas. Like I'm more innovative, and I'm able to, because I'm being around other business owners who are growing and exceeding in their business. So those are the 8 reasons why I still invest in mentors, even though I probably don't need to. And I wanted to invite you, if it feels like what you've heard today is like, shit, like maybe I need a mentor too. And if you feel like perhaps I'm the right person for you, then I would love to invite you to apply for our Health Biz Academy. I will pop a link in the show notes below so that you can have a look at everything that is involved in that. But realistically, the 8 reasons that I spoke about today are reason enough to have a mentor, regardless of whether it's me or someone else. But having someone in your corner is so, so powerful. And our students are scaling to $20,000 months and beyond by using our clarity, sales, and scaling framework. And this shit is possible for you too if you're ready to put in the work, regardless of whether you literally work for someone else right now or you're already working for yourself and you're already doing pretty well and you're looking to scale or that next level. We have resources and tools. It's not going to be right for everyone, but if you feel like you would like to have a chat to see if it is right for you, then please apply through the link in the show notes below. Until next time, move swiftly.
I have a tiny favor to ask of you, and that is to just hit that subscribe button if you have not done it yet. If you've made it this far, then I hope that this has been valuable for you and for us to get more incredible guests in front of your earlobes and faces. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please do that now. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for me or something that was a golden nugget that really stood out to you in this episode, I would absolutely love if you flicked me a message over on Instagram at Xenia Wood Official. Until next episode, and in whatever you do, move swiftly.